You're listening to Errol Parker and Clancy Overall, editors of the Batuta Advocate on Desert Rock FM.
Welcome back to Batuta Advocate Radio Show, recording here live on Desert Rock FM. You're joined, of course, by myself, Clancy Overall, editor of the Batuta Advocate, and it's just me today as host. The other two fellas had to go talk to a man about a dog, so it's just me holding the fort here, which is great because I'm an expert in the topics we're going to be covering today. There's a lot going on in this country in terms of the cultural front. Brisbane has an Olympics coming up, which is just great news. I wonder what their opening and closing ceremony is going to look like. I don't know. Powderfinger may be a start. If those boys have still got it in them in 10 years' time, I reckon they'd cut a paycheck to reunite for that one. And, a lot's going on, and it's great. We've freed ourselves from the shackle of, I guess, Channel 9's Australia, where everything was hunky-dory, everyone was slightly brown, but only because they spent a lot of time in the sun. And, we used to say things like shrimp, which no one's ever said in Australia. Shrimp on the barbie, obviously marketed to Americans, that one. But, there is a changing face. We saw that in the election. Don't want to talk about that too much, but we definitely saw a greater spread. And like I say, we've had some guests on here talking about Australian hip-hop and how that has developed in leaps and bounds throughout the pandemic. Another world, another genre that has done the same in this country is hardcore. Hardcore punk, some may say. I don't know how you guys feel about that. What would you say?
Hardcore punk works.
Hardcore
Punk rocks. Hardcore punk works too, yeah.
Yeah.
Josh and Jim from Speed, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us, bro.
Man.
Now, I want to talk to you guys. You are in a genre that mainstream media won't ever admit this in this country, but hardcore is, Australia is an engine room for it. Australia does have clout in this shit right around the world. Can you tell us how you discovered it? Was it you discovered it here in Australia or you discovered it from overseas? What were the influences?
Yeah, we discovered it here. I mean, I just turned 30, Gems, about to turn 30, and half a lifetime ago for us, hardcore was fucking huge in Australia.
Yeah.
And that really came off the back of two bands, Parkway Drive and I Killed the Prom Queen. Mm-hmm. Both blew up like early, mid-2000s, and with them just brought this whole sweep of just local hardcore bands. Yeah. It was massive. Like, it was all ages. You could see bands like every weekend in the suburbs, like at youth centres, wherever. And so that's how we got into it. It was always Australian first.
But it was an underground tapestry of this shit happening. It was never really covered. You'd think, the way pub rock gets fucking spoken about in this country, Cold Chisel, and I'm not criticising these bands. They're very talented artists of that era. But it was at a time when media was running alongside the culture, in the 80s and 70s. That's what people were doing. They were going to pubs and watching bands like this, and that was what was on the radio, and that was what was in the stadiums. You guys kind of had to exist, as you said, in youth centres. Even though everyone was doing it, it just wasn't given the nod.
Yeah. And, by definition, I think it is meant to be something that's on the fringe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's extreme music. The way people engage with it is super extreme. So it makes sense that it's kind of, doesn't quite fit the mold in terms of, like, the media landscape in Australia. Yeah. And that's, honestly, as participants in the community, like, we kind of prefer it that way, I think.
100%.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying as well in terms of like Australia having a reputation around the world with the hardcore, that definitely comes from the Parkway effect.
Yep. And
it's interesting. I feel like you probably don't necessarily understand this as like a layman or like a civilian that's looking in on like this type of music. Like your common man's like, oh, that's fucking Satan worshiping music or just like devil music or whatever. I know you're not that far. I know you're not that far removed, you know what I'm saying? But I just mean that like Australia actually has like a really good reputation for like Australian metal and like metalcore, but it's like different to the world that we operate in, and it's kind of hard to communicate that, like the difference or the distinction. But I would definitely say that like what we're involved with in Speed and the wheelhouse of our bands is very much underground, and as it should be. It's hardcore. It's like it's meant to be.
So tell me, what can you say? I mean, it's hard to articulate because it's something you love and you haven't ever had to explain it because you've never been able to. Can you explain what it is about a show, whether you're playing or in the crowd, I know a lot of people in this day and age will see MMA on the screen at a pub Sunday afternoon, and they'll see someone's head getting fucking kicked in. You know, like suburban families, old people walking in, seeing that, going, "What is this? Like, what is this bloodlust?" And having said that, I was one of them. I went to one of the fights, and I saw every move. I got to learn that how the crowd responds to the particular art form as it's happening. It's violent, whatever. It's dangerous, but there's something going on there that everyone there can see.
For sure.
What do you see in a hardcore gig?
It is a spectacle for sure. And look, on this topic, bro, it's funny because it's now what you're saying in terms of more people having more visibility on what's happening. Like, it definitely comes down to like the algorithms and that. But for us as we know it, you know, for people who are involved in the scene, like, this is like common nature. It's a spectacle because it's kind of a subgenre and a subculture which exists where the expression is literally moshing. Like, you mosh. And I know it looks completely ridiculous. It looks like completely far-fetched, and it is. It's like the dumbest thing on earth. But it really is one of those things. I think a lot of people can kind of affiliate with something in their life where it's like, if you don't know, if you know, you know, and if you don't, you just don't. And I think the fact that, like, if you listen to hardcore music, you know, typically a lot of it sounds shit. It's meant to. Like, it sounds like it's either recorded like on a tape or like on a USB mic or whatever. And a lot of people don't understand that, or they hear it and they just think that it all sounds the same. And it's because it's made for a live setting. It's meant to be experienced in there. So it's violent, it's aggressive, it's extreme, it's all of those things. Pretty much imagine just a whole bunch of animals being unleashed into a cage where they can do whatever they want. But the beauty of it, bro, the beauty of it is that, and this is the part that people don't understand until they're fully immersed in it and educated within it, is that there is a culture, and a very tangible culture and community that's very much linked to this, where the music is hugely built around the participation of the individual. And the people that are on stage are just as important as the people that's on the ground. You know, moshing is just as important, if not, it's probably more important, bro, than whatever the people are actually doing on the stage. It's a very symbiotic experience where everybody is sharing this same expression of passion and unfiltered aggression. But for the most part, is positive.
I mean, there's something to it. I mean, it looks like there's a pressure valve. You know, there's people that do different things. Some people drive fast cars. You know, some people do a whole range of things on the evenings and on the weekend to find what you guys are obviously finding there, both in the stage and in the crowd. Can I ask you this? Where was your first mosh pit?
Like as a band, or like as
a participant in the crowd? I mean, it sounds like you remember.
Yeah. For me, it was a place called Yo-Yo's Youth Centre in French's Forest. I was watching a band called Carpathian from Melbourne. I think 14, 15 years old. Two-stepping, getting pulled out of the pit by older dudes so that they could take the spot that I was moshing in. It was that was like the golden age for us, I think. But that was my first show. Yeah, it was fucking awesome.
What about you?
First show was at the Forum, which I think is now called the Hi-Fi. And it was Parkway Drive's headline show. This is 2006. And it was Parkway Drive. And like nowadays they play just like metal shows and big whatever shows. But back then they were touring strictly with pretty much hardcore bands. Parkway Drive, Her Nightmare, Jungle Fever, Stronghold. And I got a black eye that night.
Did you?
Yeah. For many of the first few shows I would go to, I was getting black eyes because there was a thing that was really popular back then. Like, mosh, believe it or not, man, there is style to moshing.
Is there rules?
Definitely, bro, definitely. And it's self-regulated. It's self-regulated. It's the other thing about it, which we can get into. But anyways, one of the trends back then was head walking, where like it's essentially like you try and step on as many heads as you can when you stage dive. Like you're trying to do that thing. And that was like a big thing back then. And so being a kid at my first few shows, I was like always up the front, trying to get the mic whenever, so I just head walked every show. So that's why I was getting a black eye. Yeah. Just getting stepped on.
Like walking over cattle at a bull sale. Just now, I want to talk about this other kind of community you've opened up, is allowing Asian kids in Australia to take part in this. Many people probably didn't feel the permission. I know this sounds like this community is open to everyone when you went along. But a lot of people don't know that. You know, a lot of people don't know that. So Speed as a band represents something right now and will forever. You know, this is the face of Asian men in Sydney City and in Australia doing something that they can do. Have you felt that? Have you felt that influence? Have you felt that? Is your crowd any different to that Parkway Drive gig at the Forum?
Very.
Yeah, it is. You know, it wasn't something that, this was not meant to be a political band in the sense that we weren't trying to champion this more so than we were just trying to be ourselves and put ourselves out there. But traditionally, hardcore has been very male dominated, very, white cisgendered male kind of dominated and whatever. And for us, it was very intentional that like I didn't have that experience of feeling alienated from the scene or whatever. I was always tokenized for sure. Like it was me and B-Chan and Dennis pretty much, and like the three of us were pretty much some of the only Asians that you knew. If you knew Asians, you knew there was one Asian around. But still, I didn't necessarily feel ostracized or whatever. But now that we're in the positions that we're in, we're very aware that not everyone had the same experience. So we're just trying to harness that.
Yeah.
And so like from the demo, we put a photo of ourselves on the cover, and it's because it was important that like people can hear the music and think that maybe it's an American band or whatever.
Yeah.
But we wanted people to see, what we look like and what we do, and especially coming from Australia. Because I think as well, the other thing that's intentional too actually is just like the perception of Australians.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everyone outside of Australia has a pretty warped perception,
Yeah.
just like you do about everything, everyone else. So that was intentional, and it's been pretty amazing to see the impact. Like
participation.
bro, I've got way more Asian friends right now since starting Speed than I ever did my whole life.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like fully, and it's mad. It's it's sick for me. It's sick for my friends and my family that are involved with this. And from the feedback we've been getting from people, it has been very, very profound. And it wasn't something that we ever foresaw. But
Well, you didn't go recruiting Asian guys for the band, did you? Like you?
No. I mean, Aaron, who plays bass, is my brother.
Yeah.
And Dennis is my other brother,
Yeah.
but like not my blood brother. But like I've known Dennis for 10, 15 years now, whatever, through going to shows.
So I mean, that's even more, I guess, pure for these kids that are coming along, that this just happened and this can just happen.
Well, it was never meant to be tokenized, bro.
Yeah.
And it was funny, bro, on that topic, like we spoke about for ages that we were going to start an all Asian band for many, many years, many years. And it was like, because there was like 5 of us, like around the country. But that's just exaggeration.
And then when you did do it, you didn't mean to do it.
No, but when we did it, I was like, I guess I didn't know how to express it as well.
Yeah.
I think when you're growing up in it, especially in that time, like I didn't know what you. I think a lot of people you don't know what you're experiencing. You don't know that like. I didn't know what the word tokenized meant.
Yeah.
I just knew that like I didn't want to start an Asian band because it's kind of cringe.
Yeah.
But I didn't know why.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It would have been sick to do it, but like I didn't know why. And also like now being at my age, like it's not my experience, bro.
Yeah.
Like Josh is my best friend.
Yeah.
And like it's because of. It never came down to this when we were growing up, but like Josh is the white dude.
So you two grew up together?
More or less, yeah. We've known each other since we were like 12, 13.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I want to ask about your role now as in this.
As an ally.
As the ally.
As a Chinese ally.
Is that what we're doing? Like, what instrument are you playing? They don't hide you at the back, do they?
I mean, sometimes.
It's actually so fucking funny, bro. It's so hilarious.
The roles have really switched,
It's
haven't
so fucking funny, and I don't like. It's like always growing up, people always get me mixed up with someone else. It's like, like if B-Chan, our other homie, used to sing in another hardcore band, and I wasn't. Anyway, people would always come up to me and think I'm the singer, or they think that I'm him, and he played bass in another band, Legions, and they think I'm him or whatever. So the whole time with people getting us two mixed up, even though we don't look anything alike, and then now it's like. Josh just thinks that people just think he's just any other white cunt. You know what I mean? Like anyone's like he's Radzi, our photographer, or he's like this other book. Like,
so funny.
I don't actually even feel bad because it's like now you know.
Now you know. You joke about it, but that's 100% what goes through my head when that happens. I'm just like, these motherfuckers.
Yeah,
man.
I can take these licks.
I'm always like, fuck, that's what it is. You know what I mean?
Josh is the token white guy in Speed.
Yeah, no, straight up. And Kane, I mean, come on. But honestly, the amount of times where like, like we were in the States and we played a show and there was this kid with a record waiting out the front at the end. He was like, I'm trying to get everyone from Speed to sign this record. And he's looking at it, there's like Jem's brother Aaron's like right on the front. Jem's obviously the singer, everybody knows what he looks like, and so he's got their signatures on his record. And he's literally standing next to me and Kane. He's like, do you guys know anybody else that plays in Speed?
He's the roadie.
It was fucked.
He's just Australian on a holiday. Just came across the show.
I want to also ask, the merch I've been seeing, Speed, is that font the old Chinese restaurant? Is that what we're going with there?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's all I can think when I see that is Golden Dragon, Dubbo, you know what I mean? Or one of those towns like that. That's the font that you would traditionally
100%.
see.
It is like Wu-Tang letters, but it was that's actually meant to be. So my brother Aaron, he has a brand called Del Sardo, and he has a shirt that is Sardo that's in that font, and we like the exact same kind of layout, and we were just doing a rip of a Sardo shirt, which is just a rip of a Chinese Australian restaurant, as you said.
I want to also kind of explore this feeling that you must be feeling now in the last year, the last 2 years. I remember seeing the first 1-4 show. It was, by chance I was there. Some people might remember it. They haven't played many shows in Australia, but I do remember it. And I remember it was probably the most people they'll ever have on stage, ever, was on stage with them. And I remember seeing something happening in that moment down Marrickville Way. This is launching right now. It's probably already happened. You guys are in the midst of that. How does that feel? And what do you put it down to? You've got obviously the music is doing its job. The visuals are red hot, but you're moving around as well. Like, you're straight in the mix. You've already been overseas.
Yeah. I mean, we're operating as a hardcore band. At the end of the day, like, our goals and like the framework that we exist in, like, is very much dictated by what we've grown up seeing other hardcore bands do. And so we're just kind of trying to tick those sort of boxes, but it's just happening at such a rate that it's obviously kind of hard to keep control of.
Look, even the fact that you just said that is the spin out, bro.
Yeah.
It's crazy because
definitely
you got to understand, for people who, probably a lot of people who listening maybe who don't know what hardcore is, bro, like, this has been an underground subculture that has always, kind of had a certain ceiling to it, and a lot of the beauty of the culture and the community that we have comes from this experience and what we know. And we've only just been realizing this really in the last couple months, pretty much since probably about July when we went to Sound and Fury in LA and played it, that this is not something that's just happening to speed. This is like a moment for hardcore globally, for the genre. The genre is now, it's doing something that's completely unprecedented. This is meant to be fully underground, bro. And as amazing and incredible as it is that we are and overwhelming, really overwhelming, this is happening. Even the fact that you're saying that this is happening, you're comparing it to something like 1-4, that's crazy because we know what rap can do. You know what I'm saying? So for them and those people, they're probably involved with it for those reasons. For us, bro, we're just doing this because all of our best friends and all of our family were met through going to this music. Most of our friends actually, bro, have been friends for 10 years minimum. You know what I mean? And the people that we make music with, people that we record with, people that book our shows, people that we work with, we've been doing this shit forever. You know what I'm saying? And that's all we're just trying to maintain, is just harboring this culture for the next generation so they can have some grassroots organic community that they can walk into that's away from, I don't know, the bullshit of the mainstream societies. We just want to build that because we feel that there's real tangible relationships that can come out of that, lifelong, meaningful relationships. And anything beyond that is just crazy. So what we're trying to reckon with now, because we know that what we are involved with is something that is so special but difficult to define, is that, honestly, bro, we're trying to navigate it and balance it, because with every kind of level up and every kind of next success and step forward, it's what does this actually mean for hardcore and Australian hardcore? Where it's just something that's been completely self-regulated forever, something that's so built with our own hands. For example, I'm very aware of the fact that people are seeing these viral videos of people fully moshing and going crazy in the pit, and it's going viral because people don't understand it and they're shocked by it. But it's for a lot of us that are involved with this is just quite normal.
No, this is before camera phones.
But people, exactly. But this is not some shit where you just come in and you just fuck up anybody in the pit, you know what I mean? And just fight for the sake of fighting. That's the thing, is it's special because we all understand what's happening and we'll accept it. And everyone's it looks aggressive and everything, but it's out of the best of intentions, 99.9% of the time. Other than the people that get it twisted. And there's always going to be some people that get it twisted and those people get weeded out, you know what I mean, very easily. And that's how...
People that just want to run in for a punch on.
Fully. That's how, we always say come, educate yourself and stay. And if you don't like it, you'll probably figure it out for yourself soon enough. You know what I'm saying? But our job now is to just really see how do we navigate all of this and keep pushing, promoting Australian hardcore and just without the culture becoming diluted. So that's kind of the place that we're at now. And the mission of the band always started for that. The mission of the band was just to ignite some more excitement about Australian hardcore. That was it.
How do you keep the reins on it? That's what I mean. I know. My thinking was, prior to sitting down with you guys and realising this was happening in the suburbs, I always viewed it as something that had a coasty edge to it in Australia. That's particularly as a Queenslander. We all knew what was happening in Byron. Before the Hemsworths, before all this shit, we knew what was going on. That was their thing. And then you'd hear about it in Wollongong, and you'd hear about it in these other kind of rough. And Byron was rough. Not even a generation ago. These were all the sons of strung out fucking Vietnam veterans, and they were fucking hardcore. And you'd see that, you still see that emulate in Coffs Harbour and Wollongong. But it seems like it was everywhere at the time. What do you think of the changing face? I see you guys in the clips dressed like not Western Sydney, but Sydney lads. You know, like, are you giving it an urban edge? Like, were people dressing like you guys were back in the day, or was it? I mean, you guys do that. That was one thing I noticed. I mean, I saw the clip, I heard the air horn, and then I go, these guys are going to start rapping. And then I realised what it was, and I saw you on the Harbour Bridge.
Yeah, I mean, the style's definitely changed over the years. When we were coming into it, you're right. There was a real coasty edge to it. There was a lot of
boardies. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and honestly, like if you went to a show in 2006, 2007, it was a ton of like bleached hair and just surfers and skaters and stuff. Now I think because it's changed so much and it went through almost like a decade of having 100, 120 odd people at a show at best.
So there was a winter. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, 100%.
A long winter.
Yeah, huge one. Yeah. But I think the people that kind of have stuck around are people that have been into hardcore for most of their life, like people like us. And
so this is what it looks like resuscitated.
I think so.
This is why we started Speed, bro.
Yeah.
We literally started Speed because we had been going to shows for 5 or 6 years that had just becoming pretty much for the most part getting worse and worse and worse. And we were like, we got to do something about it. We just got to start. The only way that you can keep the wheels turning is just to have another band to play shows. You know what I mean? So that was the reason why, and that's also why like this shit is so crazy that it's just happened so quick. Especially, bro, we played 4 shows before we went to COVID.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like we literally started, and we played 1 show at the very end of 2019.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A tough time to start a band.
Well, we obviously had no idea that what was going to happen, but like it's insane. Like that's also why this is just fucking crazy. But in terms of like the way we look or whatever, like we're a hardcore band, but we're purely a hardcore band. But I think that a big reason is that like number one, people just aren't aware of it. Like you have preconceptions of what hardcore looks like. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
I think aesthetically we are very much a hardcore band. You know what I mean? Like if you go back to like 80s New York hardcore, like it's a lot of sportswear. Like the whole like youth crew movement is just a bunch of young people in fucking Nike basketball shorts and shit. And that's kind of just always what it has been everywhere else in the world. So that's kind of just like the style that we've adopted.
Is there an overlap in the genres of hip hop and hardcore? I mean, I'm looking at a man who represents it in the corner of the room.
For sure,
yeah. 24 karat Kev. Do you see that overlap? Do you see?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's a thing, and this is a tangent, but I remember Paul Kelly, Australian rock god, said he always noticed the similarities between hip hop and country in the fact that you can do it with little. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Country music, you just need one guitar.
Yeah.
And would you say there's a similar
you could extend
thing
the same to
happening
hardcore?
now?
Absolutely.
You think it's an accessible thing for any kid.
Absolutely, bro. I mean, look at any of the guys that like your Mad Balls and your Biohazards and your Noxious Fronts were like rubbing shoulders with back in the 90s, which is like other people don't listening in. Like if you put your head into hardcore and you start to look around, like I'm going to pull out a figure right now, but I would say that's like 40 different subgenres of hardcore.
Yeah.
And all of them are pulling from different things. Some of them can sound so wildly different and look different and behave slightly differently on stage or whatever, but they all come under the umbrella of hardcore. And what Speed is doing is our brand of it is pulling from 90s hardcore, where it was the cross-section of New York hardcore, of cross-section of hip-hop and hardcore.
Yeah, a lot of graffiti writers and that sort of thing, you know what I mean? And then it still applies today as well. We're playing a show in the UK next year, a big festival, and like it's a ton of hardcore bands. But then you've got like Denzel Curry,
Earl
Sweatshirt, like a bunch of rappers and stuff on it as well. So there's always overlap. I mean, for us personally, like we listen to a ton of hip hop as well.
For us, it's also about Sydney's fresh, man. Like we're Australian hardcore band, and we're not influenced exactly by like what the Americans might be influenced. We grew up in Sydney. You know what I'm saying? Like my brother Aaron is like the freshest kind I know. He's the freshest kind any of us know. Like that's also part of why we've been making videos, bro. Like not many hardcore bands made heaps of videos contemporary. Not many contemporary hardcore bands made a lot of videos, and we did it because we were like, this is what we look like, this is who we are, this is where we come from. This is what Sydney, Australia looks like to us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
that was it.
But that it was an interesting thing. I think it might have been your brother I saw in an interview saying, aside from the fact you've broken the ceiling on tokenization, there've been lots of bands with Asian Australians in them, but there's been one in it. You know what I mean? So for the first time, we see more than one Asian guy on the stage. But I think it was your brother said.
You sure it was him or was it me? Or was it Dennis?
No, I think it was your brother. I think it was your brother who was talking about being hard Asian men.
Yeah.
He seems like a little bit of a live wire, that one. But do you feel that that's presenting something to the kids as well? That it's hardcore. We get it. You've given everyone license to like this in communities that didn't know if it was really for them, and you've opened up participation and all that. But also, Asian Australia isn't presented like this
Exactly.
anywhere else. Like it's not, guys.
I'm having a bit of goosebumps right now. You even saying that because it's like, it's crazy. Like just to be like to live in my own shoes for so long, and to not really know how to put it to words, and just see like there's been a huge rise of Asian success in the Western world in the last like 5 to 10 years for sure, in all subsets of media, but it's been very hard for me to see that and be like, yeah, that's me, or like to really find an affinity with it. You know what I mean? And I haven't been able to put my finger on it because it's a hard thing to kind of verbalize. And when we started this band, it was kind of like, I don't know, like I'm not inspired by this rapper or like by this artist or this comedian, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know why they're Asian, but I'm not fully, I just don't see myself in that.
Yeah.
And the only thing that we could do to address that was, well, I'm just going to put myself into my art and just, this is what we do and this is what we look like.
Yeah.
And it's the response of like all these other people being like, that's what I fuck with too. And like, I feel that, you know what I'm saying? Like that has just kind of validated what we've been doing, I guess, but also just being like, it's helped me understand. And I think like we're on a journey right now, like just fucking understanding what it is. And I think that like we're first generation Chinese, Malaysian, Australian. Okay. So my parents came from Malaysia here. Okay. And we were born here. And I just think that there's a lot of people that have a similar experience in a Western country who come from ethnic countries. And I'm realizing that maybe that's a story that wasn't always told.
Yep.
Do you know what I'm saying? Not only just Asians. Like I saw a comment on YouTube today or yesterday that was like, yeah, this is why I fuck with this. Asians, Australians, just like Mexican Americans, Mexicans in America or something. Like I think Mexican person had commented that on one of our videos. And I don't know, I'm seeing like, I think there's a lot of commonalities between, I guess, what we're putting on show and our experience and what we've talked about, and people that are, first generation or
Yeah, for sure. And I know that they definitely had their moment with some of those Chicano bands back in the day too, like, playing guitar and, swinging baseball bats actually, I can see that parallel there. You've released a song, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's about Asian hate crime. You said you're not a political band. Not that nice.
Yeah.
You said you're not a political band, but you released a song because it was of the time, right? That was everywhere. What has the reception of that been? Speaking of the pressure valve of hardcore music combined with a community that don't get to say that, that often, or at least not on a stage in front of screaming kids. Has that resonated around the world? I mean, I know you went overseas. Are you seeing the crowd jump a little bit high for that one?
Yeah, it's probably one of our biggest songs
for sure.
But we had a documentary that came out that was made on us by Eastern Standard Times, and we spoke about it in that.
That's where I saw your brother.
Yeah, and like writing about these kind of themes, which is kind of like we're progressive, and just I don't know, just people with morals, I guess.
Yeah.
This is something that goes hand in hand with hardcore music for with the community. For me to say stuff like that, I feel like I'm just living in an echo chamber anyway. You know what I'm saying?
But it's not even an echo chamber, as you said. It's actually rare. As your brother said, hard Asian men. Of course, this is how they're going to respond to what's happening in the world. But you've given that, at least that song. You're not a political band, but you've given that song to a global community. Really, I mean, how was it received in America?
Okay, I'll tell you, bro. I'm going to back it up. This band had one mission, okay, when we were playing this band. We're trying to keep the wheels turning on Australian hardcore. We wanted to play some sick shows. We wanted to bring hardcore back to a place where people were, there was more of an affluent community, okay? And people could just go to shows. That was our goal. And they had one bucket list thing, bro, and it was to go to America and experience American hardcore. America is the mecca for this. This is where all the best bands are from. They created the style. They don't need to look anywhere else outside of America other than themselves. And that's why Australian hardcore has never really broken out into there before, okay? We fucking played our first ever show, which is in America, or overseas, which is our 15th show, literally at the biggest hardcore festival of all time.
Yeah.
And it was, bro, it was not even a movie. It was, and it wasn't even a dream because I haven't even dreamed anything like that before.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like this is music that's meant to be enjoyed by 100 people in a small bar.
Yeah.
Where you spink at your best friends and then go get ice cream after. You know what I'm saying? Like this is not meant to be 6,000 people singing your shit and then having 3 pits where everyone's just fully going crazy and making a
pits.
And you see that shit for metal, okay? You see that you see that stuff for metal, but this is a different thing, and this is a purely hardcore festival. And it was just for us being an Australian band, you can probably count the amount of Australian hardcore bands that have ever gone there on probably 2 hands, or just about maybe 2.5 hands. All right, for us to go over there and have that kind of experience and be received, and then now everything that's happening, it really is, bro. It's more than a dream because especially now, like a year ago, bro, we were sitting at home trying not to get COVID. Mm-hmm. And then literally six months later after that, we were in playing to 6,000 people in LA. Being asked to play. Like what, like, it's just, yeah.
Is your music, are there themes to your songs or are there songs? Because that song we just spoke about before, there's a theme to it, right?
For me, bro, like we write the music, and it's firstly, number one, I'm envisioning if you hear that music, you should be able to achieve anything in that second. You should feel so G'd up. It's like meant to be PB music, bro. We go to the gym. We're the gym. Speed's the gym band,
I can
bro.
tell, boys.
Thank you very much. It's literally PB music, bro. I'm imagining like we have.
It's PB music, personal best music.
Literally, yeah. If you're gonna go pull your one rep max, you put like every single riff, every breakdown, everything is written like what am I listening to when I'm pulling my PB? You know what I'm saying? So that's the first thing, and then secondly, more than anything, man, it's just meant to be music that's just been about like just backing yourself, championing yourself. Yeah. That's it. Just owning yourself and being confident, because like, you know, I know what it feels like to feel like I'm not deserving of time in the limelight, or like just to feel, I guess,
not deserving of a PB.
Not strong enough.
Yeah.
But it literally, this is just, personally, bro, I feel confident. I think the rest of us in Speed feel confident. You know what I mean? But we all recognize that there are many paths that we've been on that have set us and brought us to this place, which enable us to make this kind of music and put ourselves on a platform like this. And we recognize, bro, that there's a large majority of people out there that did not have the same experience for no fault of their own. So the only we found ourselves in this position now, so the only reaction to that is when we're trying to make music is just to try and shed some light on that and hope that some people can just feel, you know, that too. Like we're fully fucking normal people, bro. Yeah. We're just hardcore kids, you know what I mean? So like, that was all it was meant to be. Just like G'ing up, and like when I write the music, it's like, what would I say? You know, if I'm talking to someone about this theme, like I'm not an angry person at all. Yeah. But if I had to be fired up in that, like, you know, in that moment, how would I say it? And that's just how it's written. And it's backing yourself and just living with compassion without trying to feel too corny. But I know it sounds hard, and people think we're hard. Our brand of hard, bro, is being fresh and being a good person. You know what I mean? That's our brand of hard, bro. And it's just, I don't know. I think it's just, bro, it's a spin out, man. We write and we operate and we do everything with our art, and it's just written for our friends and our family. And the fact that it's just people around the world and like yourself
resonates
talk
in
about
LA.
it. It's crazy. Like it just.
I think the common experience as well of hardcore kids is always like you feel underrepresented. I think if you talk to, like, you know, people in hardcore come from all sorts of different walks of life, you know. So many of our friends that we've grown up with have lived very, very different lives to us. But the one thing that everybody feels is they don't feel represented by mainstream society. And so I think one
fringe
of the...
dwellers.
Exactly, yeah. And I think one of the main things that people take away from the music is that it inspires this confidence in you. It makes you proud to be in control of your own narrative. And it's kind of like an armor, I think. And I think that's kind of definitely the attitude that we approach Speed with. It's meant to be music that people can listen to and feel confident when they listen to it and feel represented by it. And I think, like, going back to that song, Not That Nice, I think, while yes, anecdotally it's talking about a very specific experience for Asian people, it can be applied to anybody who feels like, you know, they're rejecting this notion of being walked over, you know what I mean? I think that's what it kind of comes down to.
100%.
Yeah. Well, boys, I'm loving the energy in the room here today. I haven't actually seen you on stage yet, so I look forward to seeing the energy there in the pit.
You're very welcome.
It sounds like everyone is, and that's the beauty of this all. In terms of the Australian hardcore scene, it looks like a bit of a hockey stick in play here. There was a long winter, but you guys are skyrocketing, and then you're going to be at the top of that scene on this trajectory, heading to space. You've already done LA. We'll see where you go from there. But thanks for joining me today, guys. What a yarn.
Dude, thank you so much. It's awesome to be here. Legend.
Appreciate it, man.